Hey, morning everybody. It's Sean. Welcome to SheppardDevos. Good to see you again, and looking forward to talking about some interesting stuff today. The song of the day was by Kutless, and that is Kutless. If you want to look them up on YouTube, a lot of great music, a little bit edgy, and I like that. And the song today was "To Know That You're Alive." Now, as you listen to that, as I've said in some other devos, when we've listened to some groups that are in a particular type of music or genre that may or may not be everybody's cup of tea, we want to be able to sort of look past that and get to the message, because the reality is we have a diverse audience that looks at Shepherd Devos, and sometimes this music is great for those that like that style. But the point is, in this song, I think I've got it figured out. It talks about right now, you're bruised and bleeding. I see the pain within your eyes. I know your pain is for a reason. Uh, you need to feel just to know that you're alive. I honestly think that they're talking about a contemporary issue here. There are those that, especially these days, that do all kinds of things because on the inside they feel dead. And really, what I'm speaking about is folks that cut. If you don't know what a cutter is, they are people that will actually cut themselves to create pain, and they'll do it in places where they oftentimes can't see it. And amazingly, this stuff is happening. It's rampant. It's going on all over. And for these people, what ends up happening to some degree, just like they said in this song, I know that your pain is for a reason. You need to feel just to know that you're alive. And some people feel so desperately helpless that for some twisted way, as they cut themselves and they are bleeding, they get the sense that they are somehow still in this world, not just walking a walking shell. And that's hard for us to get our heads around sometimes, but I believe that that's what this song is about. And I can't claim that I'm absolutely right, but certainly this is the way that it hits me. But I also like the way he comes back and he's screaming there at the end, "You're alive! You're alive! You're alive!" And trying to get this thing through, that we don't have to go in these directions to try to find out that we're alive. So while I don't think we have a whole lot of cutters watching this, we have an application for those of us that may not be in those exact places. But think about this, in a situation like the person he's singing to in this song, that if they may be thinking that they're not alive, then maybe it's because they've just believed a lie of the enemy, right? If they're thinking that they're dead and they've got to cut themselves or do something like that to get some sense of being alive again, well, then they believe this lie. And then for you and I, the application is interesting. What have we believed any lies of the enemy? Have we gone through and bought into something that he has basically planted in our heads? And there's a lot of things. We know the devil is called the father of lies, and he got that because he's the one that started it all back in the garden with Eve. But think about this: some lies of the enemy. One might be, you're just dead inside. How about you don't matter? How about you're not forgiven? You're not forgiven. Or how about this one? Oh, you're fine just as you are. You're good. You can live like the world and do all that, but you're still good to go with God. How about this one? Hey, it's all about me. That's another really good lie that the enemy gives us sometimes. Or other things. I know what those people are thinking. I know what they're thinking about me. And here's the point. Oftentimes, there are many voices that are going on in our world. We've got the voice of God that speaks at us, but we also know that the voice of the enemy is out there trying to deceive, trying to hurt and bring damage to us. So the scriptures we want to take a look at today is going to be a familiar one. We're going to be in Ephesians chapter 6, and very briefly we're going to touch on a little bit of the armor of God, and so we can take a look at how we defend ourselves against these lies. And again, remember, the context of our talk today is about any idea that the enemy has planted these seeds of things that are not true. For the people in the song, it's, hey, you're dead. You've got to cut yourself just to know that you're alive. And for you and I, it may be something else. But in Ephesians chapter 6, I want to we'll go through it really quickly here, starting in verse 13. It says, therefore, let's start in 12. It says, for we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, and against the rulers of the darkness of this age, and against the spiritual hosts of wickedness in the heavenly places. So he's just laying it out for us to say our battle isn't against people and stuff. It's the enemy behind them and things that are driving so many of the things that cause us difficulty. And in verse 13, he says, therefore, since we know, right? It says, therefore, take up the whole armor of God that you may be able to withstand in the evil day, and having done all, to stand. In verse 14 it says, stand therefore, having girded your waist with truth, having put on the breastplate of righteousness, and having shod your feet with the preparation of the gospel of peace. Above all, taking the shield of faith. This is a key one for us this morning. Taking that shield of faith with which you will be able to quench all of the fiery darts of the wicked one. And take the helmet of salvation and the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of God. Praying always with all prayer and supplication in the Spirit, being watchful to this end with all perseverance and supplication for all the saints. So Paul is basically going through and saying, hey, listen, take up the shield of faith. And for you and I, as we run into situations where we get something that doesn't fit, and the enemy is saying, it's like shooting an arrow at you, and it comes in, it just hits you, and it says, you're not forgiven. Or it hits you and says, you don't matter. Or it hits you and says, the world rotates around you. Or it hits you and says, nobody cares. You're dead. You're dead to everyone. You know what? It's that shield of faith that we stand by, and it means in that shield of faith we are making that choice to say, I'm choosing to believe God. I know that the Lord is real. I know that I matter to Him. And Paul goes through and talks about it. He says, praying always with prayer and supplication in the Spirit. He's just saying, stay in that. Continually bring these things to the Lord. So as these lies of the enemy come, we have got a place to go back to and run. So today, that's the takeaway I want you to have, is to know that if you get a random thought that comes in, you start hearing these weird things that don't fit, fall back on the Lord and come back again to your faith and say, I know that God is real. Get into the Word. Offer it up in prayer and talk to somebody. Talk to a friend that loves the Lord. Share. But don't sit out there on your own. Don't sit out there with just your voice and the enemy's. We need to be putting some other things in there to keep going. So, hey, be blessed today. I hope you have an awesome week, and we look forward to catching up to you another time. Bye.